All right, so we're diving into living rooms today.
Okay.
You sent over this transcript from Sofa Shop Talk by Lusso,
Hmm.
and they had some pretty interesting ideas about like a pretty classic design question.
Yeah,
Neutral or bold colors?
it's a big one.
Yeah, and it seems like, pretty simple on the surface.
Right. It
In
can
fa-
be a lot more complicated.
yeah, it really affects how the whole space feels, right?
Totally.
So Lusso pointed out that neutrals are having like a major moment,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
like creams and beiges and grays.
All those good muted tones.
Yeah, they're really popular right now.
It's interesting because they're not just popular, they're also just so versatile.
Oh,
But
really?
like they can adapt to any style.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So imagine like you have a beige sofa.
Okay.
You can make it feel super modern if you add like sleek metallic accents.
Okay.
Or you could put on like some chunky knit blankets,
Mm-hmm.
maybe add some rustic touches, and
Yeah.
it suddenly feels like a farmhouse.
Wow, that's a pretty big change for just like swapping out a few things.
Right. And that's why people love them.
Makes sense.
And they're also just calming.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really the energy you'd want in, say, like a home office,
Right.
but for a living room.
Yeah, a place where you just want to relax at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you pair those colors with, like, soft textures and warm lighting.
Yeah.
It just creates, like, an instant feeling of peace.
They also mentioned that lighter neutrals can make a room feel bigger,
Oh, for sure.
which is great if you don't have a ton of space.
Absolutely. It's all about the light reflection.
That makes sense.
But,
Yeah.
even with all those good things,
Yeah.
there are also some downsides.
Okay, let's hear it.
What are the downsides?
Yeah, what do we need to watch out for?
Well, I think the biggest one is that sometimes they can just feel kind of sterile.
Oh, yeah, like
Like-
too perfect.
Right, like a showroom.
Yeah,
It's nice, but there's no personality.
I can see that.
Yeah. And they actually had a tip for that.
Oh, okay, what was it?
Textures.
Oh, okay.
Layering textures creates visual interest.
Oh, okay, I like that.
So, like, you could have a linen sofa, but pair it with a really chunky wool rug,
Okay.
maybe some velvet pillows.
Oh, that's pretty...
So the colors are all cohesive,
Yeah,
but you have all this depth.
that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Okay, so that solves the boring problem.
Right.
But what about stains?
Oh, yeah.
Especially with kids and pets, lighter colors just seem like...
A recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But Live Lusso actually mentioned this.
Okay.
They offer free stain protection on their sofas.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
But even with that, wouldn't you still need to, like, be more careful
Probably.
than with a darker color?
Yeah, you might have to clean a little more often.
Uh,
But isn't that peace and versatility worth it?
you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Okay, good.
Okay, so just to recap, neutrals are versatile, they're calming, they can make a room feel bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but be careful of that, like, boring factor.
Yes.
And be ready to clean. Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about bold colors.
Okay.
So we said that neutrals are calming.
Right.
Bold colors, I feel like they're all about expressing personality
Oh, for sure.
and energy.
Like a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said that bold colors are making a comeback in living rooms.
Yeah, it's like people are ready to make a statement,
Yeah.
which is interesting because it really speaks to this idea of our homes being like an extension of ourselves.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like when you choose a sofa
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a really deep emerald green or a bold navy blue,
Okay.
it's almost like you're curating art that reflects you.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
It's not just a piece of furniture.
right.
It's like art.
Exactly.
That's cool. And on a practical level,
Yeah.
bold colors and patterns hide stains better,
Oh, absolutely. Way more forgiving.
which is great for families with kids and pets
For sure.
and like messy adults.
Yeah.
And then like going beyond the practical stuff,
Yep.
there's the emotional impact of color too.
Like those bolder colors can really energize a space,
They can.
make it feel vibrant and playful.
Totally.
They even said that people are starting to choose bolder colors for bigger pieces.
Yeah. Like sofas.
Yeah, not just like accent pieces.
It's a commitment,
It is.
but it just shows how much people want their spaces to reflect them.
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
But of course, there are downsides to bold choices too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So what are those?
We should talk about those.
Yeah. What should people be thinking about?
Well, I think the biggest risk is that they can be a little overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
If you have too much going on,
Mm-hmm.
it can start to feel chaotic.
Yeah, not relaxing.
Right, exactly.
So how do you avoid that?
Balance.
Okay.
Like if you have a sofa in a really strong color,
Mm-hmm.
you might want to keep the walls more neutral,
Oh, that makes sense.
so it's not all competing for attention.
Right, so it's like letting the sofa be the star.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about trends?
Ooh, yeah.
Like bold colors are popular now. But they might not be in a few years.
That's true.
So should we just avoid them altogether if we want a living room that feels timeless?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You can still have fun with bold colors,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe use them for things that are easy to change.
Oh, like pillows and throws.
Exactly. Or even artwork.
Okay, so you can update those things as trends change.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about coordinating everything?
Oh, yeah. That could be tricky.
If you have a bold color scheme.
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
But if you plan ahead, it's totally manageable.
Okay.
The key is to have a vision.
Okay.
Like, how do you want the whole room to feel?
Uh-huh.
And then choose pieces that work together.
It's like making a mood board.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
A little planning goes a long way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This makes me think about how they were talking about sofas.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole neutral versus bold thing,
Right.
it applies to everything in the living room.
Oh, absolutely.
Walls, flooring,
Like,
artwork.
it all matters.
Okay, so let's break it down a little.
Okay.
Starting with walls.
Right.
What do we do about walls?
Well, walls are interesting
Yeah.
because they really set the tone for the whole room.
Yeah, they're like the backdrop.
Exactly.
So if you want to go bold,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a feature wall.
Ooh. I love a good feature wall.
Right.
Imagine a really deep emerald green
Oh, pretty.
or sapphire blue.
Okay.
It just adds so much personality.
But what about the other walls?
Yeah.
Do you have to keep those neutral?
You probably should.
Okay.
You want to balance things out?
That makes sense.
Otherwise, it could be too much.
Yeah.
But even if you're going for a neutral palette for the whole room,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't have to be boring.
Okay.
You can use different shades.
Okay.
Like maybe 3 walls are a light cream,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 4th wall is a slightly deeper taupe.
Okay. I like that.
Just creates a little depth
Yeah.
without being too overwhelming.
Okay. So walls, we've got that covered.
Yeah.
Now what about flooring?
Ooh, flooring.
That feels like a bigger commitment.
Yeah, you can't really change it as easily as a pillow.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a big decision.
Okay. So what do you usually recommend?
I think a neutral floor is usually the safest bet.
Okay.
Like hardwood in a natural finish
Okay.
or light colored carpet.
Yeah.
It's just more versatile.
Okay.
It can go with any style.
So it's like the foundation.
Exactly.
And then you can build on that with the other stuff.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean bold flooring is like totally out.
Oh, no.
If you want to make a statement.
If you're feeling adventurous,
Yeah.
a patterned rug,
Oh, yeah.
or even some bold colored tiles.
That can be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I imagine that takes even more planning
Oh, for sure.
to make sure it all works
You
together.
don't want the floor to be fighting with everything else.
Okay, so we've talked walls,
Right.
flooring.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk details.
Ooh, the fun stuff.
Artwork and accessories.
Yeah.
This is where it gets personal. Totally.
So how does this neutral versus bold idea apply here?
Well, I think of artwork and accessories like jewelry.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
They're the finishing touches
Yeah.
that really make a space feel like yours.
So if you have a neutral base,
Mm-hmm.
you can use artwork
Okay.
and texture and pattern.
Like a gallery wall
Oh, yes.
with colorful prints.
And photographs
Yes.
against a neutral wall.
Yeah, that's
Or colorful throw pillows.
on a neutral sofa.
Exactly. Or a patterned rug on top of a plain carpet.
Those little things make a big difference.
They do.
But what if you've already gone bold with the furniture or the walls?
Mm-hmm.
Should you stick with neutral artwork and accessories then?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You can still have bold accents,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to choose them carefully.
Okay.
You want things that complement the existing colors,
Right.
so it all feels harmonious.
So even the small details,
Yes.
you have to think about that balance. It all adds up. This has been so helpful.
Good. I'm glad.
I feel like I have a much better idea of how to approach all these decisions.
Awesome.
But is there ever a time when mixing neutral and bold just doesn't work?
I mean, you can definitely overdo it.
Yeah.
Like if you have too many competing elements,
Uh-huh.
it can start to feel overwhelming.
Okay.
Like if you have a really bold sofa,
Yeah.
you might want to keep the walls and the floor more simple.
Oh, so it's not all competing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like a symphony.
Okay.
You want all the instruments to work together,
I like that.
not just a bunch of noise.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
So any final thoughts for our listeners?
You know, my biggest piece of advice
Yeah.
is just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like interior design should be an expression of you.
It's your home.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to experiment.
Try different things.
See what you like.
And at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you love your living room.
Absolutely.
It should make you feel happy.
It's your space.
Exactly.
I love that. This has been so great.
I'm glad.
I'm feeling really inspired.
Awesome.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the visual stuff.
Right, like colors and textures and patterns.
But what about the other senses?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you incorporate those into a living room?
That's a great question.
Yeah, because Live Liso didn't really talk about that.
They didn't.
But it feels like a really important part of the whole experience.
It is, right?
It is.
It's like we've been focused on the visual stuff,
Right.
but a really welcoming space.
Yeah.
It's more than just what you see.
Totally.
So how do we even start thinking about all the senses?
Well, think about how you experience a space.
Okay.
It's not just what you see.
Right.
It's what you touch,
Okay.
how it smells,
Uh-huh.
even what you hear.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's like a whole other layer of design.
It's like a sensory symphony.
Exactly.
And each of those things can change how the space feels.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with touch.
How do we think about touch when we're designing a room?
Textures.
Okay.
It's all about the textures you choose.
Like, is there a difference between a velvet sofa and a linen sofa?
Oh, huge difference.
Yeah.
Like, think about sinking into a plush velvet sofa
Okay.
versus sitting on a crisp linen one.
Okay, yeah.
They feel completely different.
So if you have a neutral palette, would you go for more interesting textures
You could.
to add some interest?
Yeah, like you could have a linen sofa, but then add a chunky knit throw,
Okay.
maybe some woven baskets for storage.
So the colors are calm, but it still feels interesting.
Exactly.
And what if you have bold colors?
Well, then it depends on what kind of vibe you're going for.
Okay.
If you want it to feel sleek and modern, then yeah, maybe stick with smoother textures.
Okay.
But if you want something more bohemian or eclectic,
Okay.
then mixing in some bolder textures could actually be really cool.
It's all about balance.
Always.
Okay, so we've talked about touch.
Mm-hmm.
What about smell?
Smell is so interesting.
Yeah, it's a little more abstract,
It is.
but I can definitely see how it affects the mood.
Yeah, smell is really powerful.
Okay.
Because it's connected to our memories and emotions.
Like when you walk into a bakery
Yes, exactly.
and it smells like fresh bread.
And you instantly feel happy.
Makes me want a croissant.
Right.
So how do we do that in a living room?
Well, you don't have to bake bread all the time.
Okay.
Candles are a great way to add scent.
Oh, yeah, I love candles.
Yeah, and you can choose scents that create different moods.
So for a neutral palette, would you go for calmer scents?
You could.
Like lavender or vanilla?
Those are great examples.
Yeah.
Or even something like a fresh linen scent.
Ah, that sounds nice.
Yeah, it would go really well with that kind of clean, airy feel.
And what about with bold colors?
Sometimes a contrasting scent can be really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Like imagine a living room with jewel tones and then a warm, spicy candle.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
It's unexpected.
But it works.
Exactly.
Okay, so touch, smell.
And sound.
Yes, sound.
We can't forget sound.
How do we make a living room sound good?
Well, think about the acoustics.
Okay.
Like a room with hard surfaces is going to have a lot of echoes.
Right.
But if you add soft furnishings.
Like rugs and curtains.
Exactly.
Okay.
It absorbs the sound.
It's more pleasant.
Much more relaxing.
Okay, and what about adding sounds to the space?
Oh, yeah.
Like music.
Music is great.
Yeah, I always have music playing.
You can create playlists that match the vibe of the room.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or even natural sounds.
Like a water fountain?
Yeah. Or even just opening the window.
Just hear the birds.
Nice.
Like, we're really creating a sensory experience.
We are.
This has been so cool.
I'm glad you liked it.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on design now.
Awesome.
So, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Just have fun.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to experiment.
With all the senses.
Yes.
Okay.
See what you like.
Trust your instincts.
Yeah.
This has been amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into living rooms.
You're welcome.
Until next time, happy decorating.
Yeah. Happy decorating.